Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to my channel. Now today's video is all about pensions, and more to the point, is the state pension as we know it today about to be scrapped? Now I know that sounds like a pretty controversial thing to say and is something that generally speaking doesn't go down well, and with good reason. But I definitely think this is something that we need to discuss and definitely think about moving forward. I honestly believe it is a real possibility that the state pension as we know it today soon may not exist. And why do I think that? Well, for a start, I read an article a couple of days ago and it was basically an insider kind of article about something an MP had said. And it was an off-the-record comment. But basically what it said was this MP said in Parliament later this year, they are considering having a debate on whether the pension, the UK state pension, going forward should be means tested. Well, what does means tested mean? Well, quite frankly, it means they will put a certain amount of criteria in place and you have to hit that criteria to be eligible for the state pension. So it means that no longer will everybody who has 35 years of national insurance contributions be entitled to it. There will be a threshold put in place, and obviously at this point we don't know what that threshold will be, but a threshold would be put in place, say 30,000, 40,000, who knows. And if you are classed as a wealthy member of society, then potentially you would not be eligible for the state pension. Now, of course, this is highly controversial. And if they were to implement this, I can imagine there would be a lot of backlash. But let's not forget the government is not shy about doing controversial things. Just last week, the government scrapped the winter fuel allowance for the elderly population. The winter fuel allowance has been a godsend for a lot of people over the last few years going through the energy crisis that we've been going through. But like I say, last week that was scrapped. So I think it was about £300, something like that, that everybody got going into the winter to help with energy bills. And that has gone. And why has it gone? Well, quite simply to save money. The government's finances at the moment are in a mess, let's be honest. And they are looking at ways to save money. And the winter fuel allowance was, just the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. Now, going forward, the government is going to be looking for other ways to save money. And they haven't been shy about this. They have said numerous times that they're looking to trim down spending in the government and various other things. They have committed to not raising income tax and VAT and different things like that. So they've got to look at other ways they can raise funds or cut part of the budget that they currently spend to make savings. And unfortunately, pensions potentially in the future is possibly going to be hit by this. And really, this shouldn't come as a surprise. And why do I say that? Well, to be honest, I think this all started when auto enrolment came in. Auto enrolment, if you're not quite familiar, is something where the government, I can't remember when it was, probably 10 years or so, maybe a little more, they made it compulsory. So anybody who has a job has to contribute a minimum threshold. It's about 4%, and your employer also contributes a couple of percent to make sure you have a private pension. Now, to me, when that first came in, that rang alarm bells for me. If you are being made to save into a private pension, what does that mean? Well, to me, it told me that a day will come when the state pension no longer exists, or at least doesn't exist in its current format. Whether it's trimmed down, whether they bring in this means tested thing, who knows? But to me, that's what it kind of spelt out to me. And as the years have gone by, it seems clearer and clearer every day that the state pension as we know it today will not exist going forward. And there is quite a clear reason for this, and that is we are all living longer. As we get older, people are getting older and older because we're all healthier. we're living better lives, we're eating better food, we have more medication that ultimately prolongs our life, which is a fantastic thing. But couple that with people aren't having as many children now, birth rates across the world are plummeting. And if that carries on, where we're having more people that are older and less people that are younger, unfortunately for the UK, our state pension is funded by people who are currently working. A lot of people have this kind of misconception that you pay into your pension over your working life, and all that money that you put in is somewhere in a savings pot or something like that. But the UK state pension doesn't work like that. I am a full-time member, working member of society, and I make contributions every month, but they will not pay for my pension when I retire. They are paying for people's pensions today, such as my own nan and granddad who have a state pension. Essentially, me going to work now pays for them to have a state pension. So for me to have a state pension when I'm their age, there needs to be enough people in society working full-time, paying contributions to be able to fund the pension in 40, 50 years time when I get there, maybe a little less than that, hopefully. But as it's going, like I said, as people are getting older and there are less young people working, the ratio of working people and pension age people is going to falter, and it is already beginning to falter because they're becoming closer and closer and closer. I think it was around 50 years ago, there used to be 5 working people for every pensioner. Now, I believe the stats are closer to 2 working people for every pensioner. And it's getting scarily close to 1 working person per pensioner, which quite frankly is not sustainable. And to be honest, there's a common theme with everything we seem to be doing as, worldwide these days, is everything we do is not sustainable. And pensions are just another thing that are unsustainable in their current format. Now, are there other countries around the world that do means-tested pensions? Well, there are. Australia do one, and I believe New Zealand do one. So if the UK brought in a means-tested state pension, this wouldn't be, brand new on a worldwide setting. This is something that's been done before, is in play in other countries. So I guess it has to be on the table for the UK to consider. Now, I'm not a fan of this, just like I'm sure you're not a fan of this. I've been working full-time for the last 14 years, since I was about 17, 18. I've worked full-time ever since I came out of college. I've never had any breaks in employment. I've been very lucky in that sense. So I have paid my contributions in full for the last 14 years, and I intend to keep doing that as long as as long as my job goes well and all that type of thing. I intend to continue doing that and work up to the 35 years that I need to be eligible to claim a full state pension. But it seems as time goes on, regardless of whether I hit that 35-year mark with national insurance contributions, it seems like potentially I'm not going to get the full state pension anyway. And that is why I think no matter what age you are watching this video, you have to take seriously a private pension. Now, some people think, well, the more you pay into your private pension, the less chance you have of getting a state pension, which I can kind of see the logic, because almost the better off you make yourself, the more chance the government will say, well, you're too well off, you're not getting a state pension in the future. But at the same time, you can't neglect a private pension in the hope that you're going to get a state pension, because if at some point in the future they pull the rug out from underneath us all and say the state pension is no more, you cannot leave yourself in that vulnerable position where you then have no state pension and you have no private pension because you chose not to do that as well. So really, going forward, I think it's going to come down to the individual, which is, myself and you watching this video. We have to look after ourselves. And to be honest, I think that is it's always been the way, in a sense that, you can't rely on other people. You've got to look after yourself. That means getting a paid off house by the time you hit retirement age, so you haven't got the largest payment that we all generally have, which is, keeping a roof over your head. If you can get rid of that, retirement is a whole lot easier. Now, I know that's easier said than done with, property prices in the UK, but it is something we all need to work towards. It's certainly something I'm working towards, and I hope you are too. But we also, as well as trying to, keep our housing situation secure and getting that roof over our head that can't be taken away, we need to maximise private pension contributions. And that means finding out with your company what they will do as, to help you out. A lot of companies, well, for a start, the government has made companies put a certain contribution into your private pension, and you have to put some in too. But generally, if you have a look into your company schemes, you'll find they may actually give you more if you contribute more. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like a matched contribution scheme. My company that I work for does it up to 10%. So if I put 10% of my monthly wages into my pension, then my company will match that and also put in 10%. So in total, it matches 20% as a contribution. And that is a pretty significant contribution. And, I am currently 31, and I hope if I can keep doing that for, the many years ahead, eventually I'll end up with a private pension that, is good enough to sustain the lifestyle that I want to live in retirement age. But depending on what age you are watching this video, it depends how late you start or how early you start. Now, I started contributing into a pension when I first got a full-time job, and I think it was around 18. And I think I did 5% and my company did 5%. And somewhere along the way, I bumped it up to 10%. And like I said before, my company do 10%. And it's been like that now for a good number of years. And as long as my company keeps doing that, I'm going to keep it at that 10% rate because I'm used to it. But depending on what age you are at, if you have not contributed to your pension very much and you're saying your late 30s, 40s, 50s, you're going to need to contribute a whole lot more than 5% or 10% because you've got to catch up with the years that you've missed. So what I mean by this, the point to this is the earlier you start contributing into your private pension, the longer time it has to build, the longer time compound interest has to take over and add even more to your pension. So by the time you get to 65, or let's be honest, they'll probably put up the pension age. It'll probably be 70 plus by the time I get there. But you've got to give yourself that time for it to build. So by the time you do actually get to retirement age, you've got a pot big enough to sustain yourself. Now, I know this is a lot to think about, but it's something we all need to be thinking about because, as I said previously, and the title of this video, the state pension may very well be scrapped in the near future, or at least changed from the format that we currently know it as. And we have to be prepared for that. You cannot wait for like I said, that rug to be pulled out from underneath you, and then for you to say, oh God, the government has ruined my life. I'm not prepared for this. And don't get me wrong, there will be people that do that. There will be people that have seen this coming and refuse to save into a private pension and do things that help themselves almost on principle. But that is not going to help yourself in the long run. So what I would advise, and you can do whatever you want to do, it's your life, just like my life is my life, but try and do the right things for yourself. And that is, pay off debts, try and get a house sorted with a paid off mortgage by the time you hit retirement, and make the most of your private pension in any way that you can. And if you do those three things, then as long as your health is in a good state of order and, with a bit of luck on your side, you will reach retirement and you'll live a comfortable retirement. And hopefully the state pension, whether it's there or whether it's not, won't be something that bothers you by the time you get there. But don't get me wrong, if the government actually scrapped the state pension, it is going to be one hell of a controversial thing to do. But to be quite honest, the way things are going, it would not surprise me at all. But guys, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. What do you think about this? Do you think the state pension is going to be scrapped? Or do you think they'll bring in something else? I don't know, who knows? But guys, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could hit the like button and the subscribe button and check out a few other videos on my channel, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you in the next one.